Hi, I'm Lee Jenkins, and we're going to talk about writing, kindergarten through second grade. Because when children write, we're amazed how much more they can learn than we ever expected. Dictation and writing should flow naturally. It should be from the starting, from their listening to their talking, all the way up. If you look at it this way, children listen as young toddlers, then they speak, then they like to draw a lot. And then we take dictation from them. They tell us about their art. They write on their own, and then children read what they write. It's a natural progression that we're going to see here today. So the three steps for writing are art, and then they write or they dictate and we write it for them. We edit and they trace over the edited work. That's our three steps. You'll see this. The art's first. A kindergartner has made a design with the pattern blocks, has a pattern block template, reproducing that picture right there, and then writing about it. At the left, you can see a completed pattern block story and the writing that goes with it. When students are designing and creating the art, they do know that they're going to write about the art. They know that that's coming. We don't have the, I don't know what to write about problem. They all know because they've done the art and they know what they're going to write about. We want to write with the correct spelling. Boy, that's huge. It's huge. And it's so simple. And it takes away so much stress. Teachers tell me once we get the spelling problem taken care of, that writing just flows. So we have a custom spelling dictionary. It's made really well, binding, thick paper. We give it to kindergartners, and it goes home for them when they're at the end of fifth grade. It's made to last. When a student wants to know how to spell a word, they open their dictionary up to the right page. They ask an adult to spell it for them. So the adult writes it and they copy it into their story. It's very quick and fast and easy. There you can see a complete picture of it, what it looks like, with blanks there for every letter of the alphabet. Interesting. This is a family experience. My younger son, when he was in kindergarten, October of kindergarten, we were robbed. He was so upset about that, that all he wanted to do in kindergarten was write. And he wrote and wrote and he wrote. But he didn't know how to spell anything. And so he'd been given the first week of kindergarten his spelling dictionary, and he knew what to do. He might have needed help to get to the right page, not knowing what letter it started with, but he wanted to write, to get all the stories down about the detectives and everything that happened. When students ask how to spell a word, please don't give them a spelling lesson. We want to say, now, what do you think it starts with? Go through all. No, no. They all they learn from that is don't ever ask a teacher how to spell a word because you get a spelling lesson. They don't want that in front of the whole class. Just if they ask how to spell a word and they've got the dictionary open, they give you the pencil, you take the pencil from them, you write the spelling, and they go right back to the story. You're not delaying their thought because they've got a thought in their minds how the story's going to go. You don't want to interfere with that. You just want to get it, the word spelled correctly and copied into the story correctly. Now, the step three, I said art first. They do the art, then they write, then they sit down with the teacher one-on-one for their story to be edited. In the hustle and bustle of a classroom, you won't catch everything, but you get enough of it. And that conversation is huge. It's much better than a bunch of worksheets on all the different aspects of writing. They get the story, why it's changed, why it's erased, why it's fixed. And then they take a thin felt tip pen and they trace over the edited writing. It's practice. If you said take a pencil and write trace over it, no, they don't want to. You give them that thin felt pen and they want to trace over it. And it's practice for them correctly, getting it done correctly. It takes time to edit writing and to answer spelling questions. When I first saw this in a class of 32 students, I thought, how in the world does a teacher find time to edit? Now, when they finish a story, before it's been edited, they have a place in the classroom to put the story. It's an editing shelf. They know that the teacher's going to go in there and take the story off of the bottom of the pile and call up the student and at a free moment and edit their story, and then so they can go on. But actually, the art takes a lot of time. The tracing takes a lot of time. And that's what creates the time for the teacher to have the one-on-one editing and to deal with the spelling. It's a good idea to have some white labels available because once in a while, with the felt pen, they will make a mistake and you can't erase it. So they go and they know where the stickers are. They go in the classroom, they get a smaller or larger sticker, and they put it over the mistake and go on and get their writing done correctly. I know there's a debate over invented spelling. My perspective is because there's no such thing as invented reading, then we shouldn't have anything like invented spelling. Because students read what they write and their friends read what they write. And if it's all gibberish, then you lose the reading part of it. So please, let's get the spelling right so that their friends can read what they write. Because spelling is accurate, this is what gives us a classroom of authors and readers, and it starts early on in kindergarten, having that classroom of authors and readers. There you see a student in grade 1 reading a book written by a classmate. The alphabet, students get to choose what letters they want up there on the board up above the whiteboard. There's a trellis as a room divider. You can hang stories on there. You can still observe what's going on in the rest. But we don't want the art on one side of the room and the writing on another side of the room. They go together. Now, math manipulatives are one of my favorite ways to have the students do the art. There's just so many creative things that come from it. And here's an example of using the tangram. So tangram pictures there's hundreds of them. But you pull out maybe 12 of them, and you say, go through these tangram pictures, figure out what you'd like to write a story about, and then go get the tangram set. It's posted on the wall, what 7 pieces to get out of the box. They get the 7 pieces, and they solve the tangram puzzle. Then they take the tangram template, they reproduce it, and they write about it. And here's an example. This is a candle, and Jack B. Nimble burnt his bottom, and he's never going to jump again because he learned never to play with fire. This is a tangram about a firefly that they were reading about. And you can see in a classroom, all these stories are children choosing the tangram design that they wanted to write about, and there it is posted on the wall. A student in first grade knew the name of the tangram pieces and knew which one's called the parallelogram, and one day found the parallelogram was really inside a toilet paper roll, so she brought it to school. What did the teacher say? Of course, paste it on a sheet of paper and tell us about it. She wrote, this is a parallelogram. How did I make it? I ripped open a toilet paper roll. This is pattern blocks. The pattern blocks are wonderful. Now, why would you this is a grade 3 classroom writing about the Minutemen, is because their classroom teacher read a story about Minutemen in the War of Independence, and so they knew, they'd seen the pictures, and they loved to take the pattern blocks and create a design and then write about it. There's George Washington, once with pattern blocks and once with Cuisinart rods. There's a boy on the water skiing with his father in the boat. And he wrote, me and my dad are going to go skiing. Geoboards work. In order for geoboards to work for art, you need the dot paper that's exactly the same size as the geoboard. So when they're done putting the rubber bands and creating their story, then they reproduce that on the dots on the geoboard. And there you can see a rather involved one. That's about 8 geoboards there. The reading, it just does so much. You read a book to the kids, there's centers, and one of the centers is to use the math manipulatives. So they have one of the days during the week, they will use the math manipulatives to write. And there you can see Paul Revere with Cuisinart rods. Now, because we have cameras inside our phones, it makes it much easier to write about 3D art. So here you have 3D Lego type experience in a classroom. A teacher takes a picture of it, prints it on a computer, clips it on a sheet of paper, and they write about it. It's wonderful. We didn't used to have that easy access to write about 3D objects. A parent brought into a classroom uh, a wheel, in a sense, you squirt paint on it, turn it on, and you get a design. And the student wrote, "This is a frog. It got run over by a car. Smoosh. This is a star, and it's having a ball. The rainbow, they didn't know how to make a bend. This is my mommy outside taking a suntan. And sometimes it doesn't go so well. I'm done with this mess," like Kenny. The kids all had experienced the snowman book. And so with torn paper, just torn construction paper, they all did their snowman and they wrote, but they're all unique. The thumbprint drawing book works so well for kids at all ages to do the art, particularly as they get older and some become more nervous about their drawing ability. The thumbprint art takes all that way, and they just write such great stories using the thumbprint art. Sometimes things happen in the classroom that students are concerned about and they want to write. Here, one of the students, her baby sister died after 14 days. They taken a sheet of paper, folded it in half, open it up, squirt paper in, fold it back, open it up, and what do you see? One student said, "Oh no, my dad's mustache." Another said, "That's my brother's freckles." You don't know what you're going to get. The art doesn't have to be complicated. There you see, there's a tornado, a couple tornadoes. It's the writing is in every subject. I love the game Race for 1,000. It's one of the best games to help kids learn place value, and there'll be some presentations coming up on that before long. But when they have that experience in school, let them write about it, because often it's the writing about them that cements the ideas into their head. We all know Brown Bear, Brown Bear, but it's not only a book to read, and it is that, it is a book to read, but it's also a pattern for other books that kids can write. Flaming sun, what do you see? Flaming sun, what do you see? I see tiny Mercury looking at me. Tiny Mercury, what do you see? Here's a Christmas time, candy canes, candy canes. I love candy canes. Candy canes, this the striped part of Christmas. Pilgrim history. Pilgrim, what do you see? And then ABC books. Oh, they are so good. In a classroom, typically each student contributes a page and we put them together into a booklet that kids can read. So you're going back to, sometimes they dictate, usually they write and trace over, but it needs to be spelled right because this is a book that everybody in the room is going to have a chance to read. They did an ABC book of occupations in the kindergarten class. What do you do for Y if you're in kindergarten? What's an occupation starts with Y? And they wrote yo-yo maker. Let's not forget, reading and writing are cousins. When you improve the writing, you improve the reading. When you improve the reading, you improve the writing. They're cousins. They go together. Students can learn far more than we ever expected. And that idea of the art, and then the spelling dictionary, and then the one-on-one editing and the tracing over, it magnifies that idea that we had just said. Wow, they really can learn far more than we ever expected. I'm Lee Jenkins. There's my email, lee@crazysimpleeducation.com, and a business phone number you can write or text. Thank you for your time.